Errol.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Nice seeing you again.
Absolutely. So I wanted to just kind of talk to you for a minute about you.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you a question to start off our conversation.
Yes.
What do you feel that people's first impression is of you?
You know, I don't know because I've never really thought about it.
Okay.
I would like to think that it's good. I don't have any enemies. I don't have people that dislike me. I've had a lot of friends over the years. So I don't, you know, when I approach somebody or someone approaches me, I try to be as nice as possible because that's the way I was raised. You know, I don't think bad of people. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I have friends that are quite racial and make statements, and I'm not like that. I don't do that. I never have my whole life. I've never been that way. When I went to school in Phoenix, Arizona in the early 50s, my school was racial. Blacks, Negroes were not allowed to go to my junior high school, but Hispanics could. So I grew up in that a little bit, and I've never been that way. I've never even thought about it because my father wasn't that way. My father taught me to not be that way, you know, to respect everybody, and I do, you know. So that's how I feel about people's impressions. I hope they like me, I like them, I chat with people, I always talk to strangers. Hey buddy, how you doing? Hey, I'm doing all right, man. You know, that's how I approach people, you know. And I don't have people that are mad at me. I did when I was working and running work.
What did you do for work?
I did concrete work for 45 years.
Wow.
I started when I was 16. I started in construction when I was 16, but I joined the union in 62. In 1962, I turned 17. I turned 18 in 62. You know, I was working in Anchorage, Alaska at the time.
You said you were working construction since you were 16?
16.
What about school?
I didn't go to school. I didn't go to school after the 8th grade. I had some bad experiences at school. And I always thought to myself, how do I hide this? How do I keep this under wraps that I can't read or write? I can read fairly well, but I can't write. I can't spell very well. So I lived with this all of my life. And I kept it kind of a secret. I got out of the 8th grade, but they didn't let me walk in the line with the other kids. They just gave it to me and sent me home because I didn't have very good teachers. This was in South Phoenix, Arizona. I always seemed like I had problems. In the 7th and 8th, we changed classes. There was no such thing as junior high, but 7th and 8th grade, we switched classes. So I had some teachers that really helped me and some that didn't. I had teachers that didn't care about what I did. And like my sister said, I'm the youngest of 5 children. My oldest brother was 17 years older than me. And then I had a sister that was 11 years older than me. She just died in 16. And I had a brother that was 7 years older and a sister that was 3 years older. And they're all gone. All those people are gone. I'm the last of that line of family. But my sister, Bonnie, the one that was 3 years older than me, she really cared about me and she really helped me. But I was good at ditching. The truant officer used to come to the house and take me to school because what happened was I fell behind. They flunked me in the 1st grade. I flunked the 1st grade. You know what they said? They said it was because I was colorblind. Now, years later, all my family goes, "What? You don't flunk because you're colorblind." So I never knew why they flunked me. Well, what that did is that put me a year back or ahead of the other kids, age-wise. So then we moved and went to Rio Vista, and these teachers, I'll tell you, they used to whip me, my principal especially. He used to whip me with a big old paddle, and my math teacher, Mr. Bessage, he used to hit me with his ruler and actually break his ruler because I was doing something that they didn't like. I wasn't learning, and it made him mad. I think it made him mad, so that no one was willing to help me. I had a girl in my same class. Her name was Lily. She was wonderful. Lily really cared about me. And she really tried to help me. Well, Lily did. So as I'm out of school, I'm working in construction. I'm trying to get by with not being able to spell very well. And I just try to get by with it. So that goes on for years and years. So when my son discovered it, he says, Dad, I remember when I was in the 2nd grade and you gave me a whipping because I didn't go to school. He says, now I know why. You never helped me with my homework. Mom did it all. He says, now I finally, I tell him this when he's an adult, grown man. He says, now it all makes sense to me. Going through life not knowing how to spell is not only a challenge, it's embarrassing. But I got to the point, I finally decided to ask for help. I had a major knee replacement at Cedars-Sinai, and I had to fill out this form. It's the first time I ever told somebody I didn't know how to spell. So I decided to ask for help. And my son and daughter-in-law, and I opened up to them, my daughter-in-law especially. We went out to eat, and I was telling Craig and Cindy all about my life and what I'm telling you right now, how I grew up. And there was no one around to help me. One sister, Bonnie, was willing to help me. So my brother, who is 17 years older than me, he took me down to the school, and he had me by my hand, and he told the principal, we went in and seen the principal. He said, did you know my brother can't read or write? I'll never forget it to this day. I'll never forget holding onto his hand and him telling the principal, like, this isn't, and then my teachers were like, I think my sister told me my teachers give up on me. They just give up on me because they can't keep me in there forever. If I'm not gonna learn anything, I gotta go. It's like, but I learned how to cheat. I learned how to ditch school. I learned everything except an education.
So did you go to school after 8th grade?
No. Oh, no. Oh, wait, I take that back, yes. My sister, Bonnie, says, look, I want you to go to high school. So my sister bought me the books. I started high school, and I kind of did okay. Well, I ran into Lily, the one that helped me in grade school, and Lily really cared about me. She was just a sweet girl. Not a girlfriend, just a sweet, sweet, loving friend. I'd like to talk to her to this day, believe it or not. Anyway, so I went to reading class. This was in 1960. Everybody stands up and reads. Well, I stood up and I couldn't read. And the classroom's full of people I know, and and the teacher looks at me and says, what in the world are you doing in here? You can't even read. She said, get out of here. I went out crying. I walked out the door crying. I went home and told my mom. So anyway, years later, I work in construction. I get by. I do have trouble, but I started to learn how to function and try to be serious at the same time. I ran work. I did huge buildings. Big buildings. And I would run work. I was a foreman for a cement contractor. I would go into a room with architects, structural engineers, and I could function. I could keep up. I just couldn't take notes, but I understood what they're all talking about. And so I functioned in my work. I functioned well. I did it for a long time. So it's like, I'm reading the paper one day, and it says in there this thing about dyslexia. And I read it, and it just sounded like me. Then I seen an article in the paper about the school, the adult education thing.
Okay.
And I embraced that with both arms. I did. I embraced that. I thought, oh, you know what? Man, that is me. So I decided to do this, thing, and I'm better. I'm not there, but I'm better.
How old were you when you decided to go to the adult program?
I don't know. I don't remember. Let's see, I'm 75. What's that been, 5 years ago? Guessing. Yeah, so 5 years ago, I guess, maybe 6. And I had a wonderful, wonderful tutor. Wonderful tutor.
What did what took place with the tutor? What did you guys work on?
Worked on how to sound words out, basically, how to learn how to spell, and I use that formula today. Even though I'm not there, I use that sound out formula today, where I sound out, where I actually do our grocery list now, and I don't ask Dixie how to spell something. I'll wing it. I'll sign, and I'll miss a letter or two. You know, I still have trouble with some sounds, but I'm better. But here's the thing. Here's the main thing. I'm not afraid to tell people that I can't spell and I can't read. I can read a lot better than I can spell. And that might not make sense to people, but it makes sense to me. And I can't explain it any better than that, you know. But I have come a long ways. I've come a long ways. And I feel good. I feel good today. And here's the thing. I'm not afraid to ask for help.
That's amazing.
When I fill that thing out, when I told that woman at Cedars-Sinai when I was filling out I'll tell you what they did. Those rascals, they went paperless the next year. I don't understand it, but you didn't have to. You just had. It's the first time at Cedars. First time ever I signed my name on one of those little deals.
Pretty different, huh?
Yeah, there wasn't enough room. It's been an interesting journey. The last guy I worked for, he didn't really know I couldn't read or write, but he told another guy, he said, "Did you read those specs?" He says, "Well, Earl read them all." Well, you know, you got to keep an eye on Earl. He can't, you know, he doesn't read or write very well. So my boss knew it without us talking about it, you know. But let me tell you something. I'll tell you what you learn in doing concrete work. Your mistakes are handled by a jackhammer,
Yeah.
not by an eraser.
Right.
So you don't make mistakes. That helped me. That enhanced my education on reading and understanding. I actually had to show other people mistakes that they made in reading it. So that's kind of like, but I'm comfortable in my life right now, going
Good.
and asking for help. That was a big thing right there.
Well, and at 70 years old, you still
Yeah.
wanted to
Oh,
learn.
yeah.
I think
Oh,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So I have two last questions
Yes.
before we end our interview today.
Okay.
One is, what would be one thing that would surprise people to know about you?
Surprise people. That I'm smarter than I look?
I love it.
don't
I
know.
love it. And what would be one thing, if you could tell everybody that's watching one thing that you would want them to know, what would it be?
My desire in life would be to talk to a bunch of young kids and tell them, study, study, study. Don't walk out on this. Don't walk out on this. Stay there and study. Don't let kids give you a hard time. Study. That would be one of my goals in the rest of my life, is to tell little kids. I don't know how young they have to be to get it in their head, but even junior high kids, you know, it's like, I know there's a lot out there that's like me. There has to be, you know. There must be children out there that are going through what I went through as a kid. But so if something happens to my wife and I'm all alone, I have no problem telling somebody, hey, I can't fill this out. Can you help me?
Well, I can't thank you enough for sharing your story.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
You know, I hope if it helps 5 people, I'll be happy. If it helps 1, I'll be kind of happy. If it helps 5, I'll be real happy.
Well, again, I thank you
Okay.
so much for being so open, and
All right.
I think it's amazing.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.